Brother, are you all right?
No, I am not all right. I just shared a bottle of Kanar with Damar. That rhymes.
You're drunk.
Of course I'm drunk.
Yeah, I think we all need a drink after that one.
Maybe some Saurian brandy.
Maybe that might do the trick. So, welcome to everyone as you're tuning in. For those who are unaware, we decided to do a little bit, well, no, it wasn't a we, it was a my decision. I will admit that this one is on me. So, we heard that Season 2 of Star Trek Picard was out. And it's a show. I can definitely say that. There is aspects of it being an entertainment offering. But I decided, seeing as how Season 1 went, I was going to share in the torture. And we quite literally just completed watching Episode 1 only about 5 minutes ago. So, yeah. It was different than expected, but also almost too much like I predicted.
Uncannily so in some regards.
Well,
or not quite.
I predicted at the end. Alright. I predicted during Season 1 that they were going to kill off Picard, only to bring him back. Now, I didn't expect him to do it in the span of about 7 fucking minutes on screen. But my prediction there was correct. Picard sacrificed himself in the typical noble sacrifice that many characters are written to go by. But then they immediately brought him back in the casing of a new Soong-type android. So much for that glorious and noble sacrifice? No. We can't let a character die and stay gone. Unless we're only killing off the character to serve as an emotional gut punch to the people who actually have paid attention to the franchise for the last 30-something fucking years. Oh, yeah. We'll kill off those characters, no problem. So this...
And those that we resurrect will be turned into absolute pieces of garbage.
Yeah, there's... You know, I'm going to start off with one thing that is actually a positive from this. While the vessel aesthetic is in line with that of Star Trek Discovery, which is why I put this show into the same alternate timeline that I put into Discovery.
We know what you mean.
The ship's... the new hero ship that lasted a whopping 45 minutes actually looked pretty good.
I love that pan over shot, like I said.
Yeah, we did get a lovely hero shot of the lead ship in a new class of vessels named for the USS Stargazer, Picard's first ship that he was officially the captain of. Now, I will say this. They also got it right in that they did not reuse the legacy registry number. The Stargazer has a new registry number. Otherwise, it would have ended in a -A. So, at least they're keeping some consistency on that. But The how far into this do we really want to go? Actually, Cal, how much of the episode did you watch? Because I noticed you came in after we started playing it.
Let's see here. I came in a little bit before the Whoopi Goldberg scene. Yeah, I came in like a minute or two after you guys started.
Oh,
So I've seen about almost everything that you did.
well, no, the Whoopi scene was maybe a quarter of
That
the
was
way
about the
into.
halfway point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
30-minute
came in-
point.
Yeah, it's. I will give it this. It is slightly longer than your typical episode. It was total runtime was 55 minutes, but that includes the credits. The actual action and the actual episode itself ended about the 48-minute mark, almost the 50-minute mark. And I will give it one, maybe two more episodes before I declare my prediction from a number of months ago, whether or not it's true, because, yeah, time travel. Picard's no longer going to be in an android body. He's going to be back in a biological body. And what do you know? They end the episode with the appearance of Q. But they also give hints to some other things that are changed other than just Picard being, instead of being on the ship where we last see him, he's back on Earth, back at his chateau. We actually see another Soong-type android as a servant. Same one that apparently went crazy on Utopia Planitia on Mars that spawned the events of Season 1.
Oh, come on now. It wouldn't be that bad.
You know, if they... well, and so here comes the question. Does the Hobus event still happen in that timeline? And we just don't have the android uprising like that because Starfleet decided to not get involved at all? Or does the Hobus event not happen? I guess... well, I would say we would find out, but I have my doubts because it's already been leaked, and it was already given away in the preview at the end of episode 1 for the remainder of the season.
Yep.
They're going back in time!
Oh, and guess who's reprising a role? According to IMDb, there's only 2 cast members for the next episode, and that's Picard. That's Patrick Stewart and Brett Spiner. And no, it's not Data.
No, it's going to be... what year did they say they were going back to? 2124?
2024, I believe.
20... Well, if it was 2124, then we easily know... whoa... it could still be soon. Oh god, they're saying that fucker is that old in the time of Enterprise?
Or there could be an ancestor still.
Yeah, they might play that card again. Well, hey, no tropes like old tropes, I guess.
Yep.
You know, and I had a feeling when Spiner was shown on screen that it was going to be either an ancestor of or Soong himself. Although, you know, I want to find good in this because I don't want to be completely negative about the entirety of the show for the entirety of its existence. I'm trying to find some good in the show, and the way that Q popped up and then adjusted his visual appearance. Okay, that was well done. That is how Q would do it.
Yes, Q is quite the prankster god. So there's so much I wanted to like about this episode, especially since I started watching it before you all officially started watching it. But I could just tell that they're trying to cram too much of a storyline into each episode, that they're not letting it grow naturally. If they were smart, they would. Of course, nobody at Paramount's smart at this point, but if they were smart, they would try to push the Picard as a full-length TV season. 20 plus episodes.
Yeah,
they just won't.
Don't rush the story. That is really the biggest thing. Don't rush the story. Let it actually progress in a time frame that actually makes sense. Well, and here's a question. Did we get any sort of indication on just how much time had transpired from the end of season 1 to this beginning of season 2?
I don't know.
I think a little over maybe a year or two, because the way
near
the beginning when they were on Delton,
Larsa.
They're talking about the set what's her name, has been exploring for over a year now, so it's got to be at least a year.
Well,
maybe a couple.
It's probably.
And Larissa said a year and a half since what's his name died.
Yeah, so
my guess is maybe a little bit longer, because how long does it take him to develop and construct that new ship too, the Stargazer class?
That could have been in construction long before.
True.
Yeah, but it's more... Well, and actually, you know what? There is another positive for the special effects team on that one. Good job having a fleet of Federation ships that are all different classes of vessels.
3 of those ships, if I'm not mistaken, or 4 of them, are actually from Star Trek Online.
Yes. Actually, the Stargazer variant that we get was a modification of one of them.
Yep. And then the Excelsior, I don't know if it's the original Excelsior or the variant of the Excelsior class.
Judging by the nacelles, it's a variant. It's at least a refit, if not a complete new hull.
Yeah, there is a variant of the Excelsior, and then there's actually a new, I don't want to say new hull design, but it has the classic look to it, the variant, or to the Excelsior, but it's got a different class. I just can't think of the name of it.
Hold on.
And then there was another, and then a couple of the other ships are now canon. They're not from Star Trek Online, but they're canon. From Lower Decks, the Luna class.
Yeah, the Titan.
That was the Titan. Yeah, we're not sure if that was the Titan, but at least it was a Luna class.
Well, in Lower Decks, it was the ship that Riker was in command of, which was the Titan.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it being a Luna class and them actually taking those visuals, that's the thing. That's probably the most frustrating bit of how Paramount, Viacom, as CBS have been handling the franchises, because they've been accepting of some beta canon materials for some things in a good way, but then trying to completely destroy other aspects of it because, we know better. Well, if you fucking know better, then why did you, through legal means, kill the show that was actually gaining fanfare in its production lead-up? That just... Oh, that's right. Because it wasn't you that was making that show. It was a fan project that was getting more notoriety and more support and more interest than the show you were developing.
Oh yeah, Kanar.
Yep.
So, not going to play the video, but I do have to share this screenshot because it's bugging me. Tell me, this is not an inflamed sphincter after too much Chipotle.
All right. Hang on. I gotta. Let me. I gotta do it this way. Let me. Yep, meeting caption. There we go. Now the audience can see it as well.
Tell me that does not look like somebody who's had way too much Chipotle. And by the color of green, I'm going to go with they took the vegetarian option on everything.
Was that green chili?
It was all the guac.
No, the
Yeah.
dog wouldn't do that to you.
No. This is the universe's asshole.
That I can agree with.
And it produced an extremely large log.
I will save that spoiler for people to actually watch.
That large log wants to assimilate your ass.
In more ways than one.
Well,
That is a very freaky log. If only this was saved for Friday.
Well, it looked like it might have been one of Kirk's logs.
it did have a time travel aspect to it, and oh look, we got Kirk on the screen right there. Now, I would love to look into the rationale of some of the choices that they decided to make on why certain characters are in the position they are following even an almost 2-year time period between the end of season 1 and what we got today with the beginning of season 2.
Okay.
Because mainly because, you know what? Actually, hang on. Let me hit something because people might actually want this. Spoiler warning.
Spoiler.
Well, the episode's only been out for, a couple days now? So I understand people haven't watched it on their own or they may have watched other reviews yet. That's entirely on them. Now, I understand Rios was the master of his own vessel for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
But what person that leaves Starfleet under questionable circumstances and then coming back to Starfleet is then fast-tracked to be the commanding officer of a ship inside of 2 years?
Well, think of it this way. If in a time of war, the Navy or the Coast Guard were to press ships into service or commandeer their crews into service, they would take captains for captains. You know, they put them on support ships, not actual tactical command ships. But you know, there's even in our world of existence, there is the fast track possibility.
But they were already recognized as a captain, not was in the One Nation service, then kicked out, and then brought back. Because Rios was Starfleet before. I lost too many captains already. I don't want to lose another one. And ends up going back to Starfleet after giving him the finger on the way out. I mean,
what? Being pressed into service, Picard could have twisted his arm. Picard could have found a loophole, especially since he was bringing Elnor into Starfleet as a cadet. And
that's another thing. How quickly did Elnor get through Starfleet Academy?
He's still a cadet. He's not an officer yet. By the sounds of it, he's either in his middle of his first year or he's in his second year.
That seemed like a graduation ceremony that they had going on there with a posting. I mean, unless think
of it as summer cadets service.
Well, yeah, what the middies used to do.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they still do. Okay, I can see that, but it wasn't exactly portrayed in and put out in that way.
Yeah, no,
And even then, when Star Trek has actually showed cadets being aboard ship, it was always on the training vessel assigned to the Academy, permanently stationed at Earth, which for a time was the Enterprise. During and after the refit, prior to its destruction at planet Genesis.
Yep. Oh, one of the other ships that was noticed, I don't know if you saw it, was a Sovereign class.
Yeah, good choice on them on keeping one of the better designed ships.
Well, and that was one thing is a ship from film is now made it into TV canon.
Yeah, because they've had it vice versa before, but not the other way. But granted, when they actually no, there was a previous class of ship that started in the movies and then ended up on screen in the series, on TV. The Miranda class, the Reliant class.
I think that was also in the fleet of ships. There was a Miranda class in there somewhere, or a variant of it. Or are you talking about the Soyuz? No, it wasn't the Miranda. It was the Soyuz class.
Well,
that one episode of TNG.
Well, so you have the Soyuz showing up in TNG, but so you had the Reliant, which was then later named as the Miranda class, which also showed up as the Saratoga in Star Trek 4. Which then also showed up as the Saratoga without the roll bar in the beginning of DS9 when they're showing the background of Cisco.
Okay.
But then you also have the Soyuz that showed up as the Bozeman, which are all... So the Saratoga without the roll bar and the Soyuz is supposed to be a subclass of the Miranda.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, makes sense. I mean, you do have subclasses of many vessels, even in the real world today. It's just normally they're not as drastic a changes, and they're typically different flights. Like your Flight 1, Flight 2, and Flight 3 of the 688s and the Arleigh Burkes.
And I just realized that there was also a Miranda class during Wolf 359.
Yep.
I think that was Cisco's ship, wasn't it?
Yes. Well, that's what they retroactively put as Cisco's ship, but it was there in the beginning. Same thing with there was an Ambassador class shown in the wreckage and a couple others. So so you do have that class of ship starting in the movies and then going to small screen. So it's not the first time, so it's not unheard of. It's just at least they're sticking with a nice touch. So there are some aspects of this first episode that are well done and actually are good, are enjoyable, and aren't exactly terrible. But what I'm seeing that is going to be coming down the line that is going to really be disappointing because, oh my god, are you telegraphing this one already? The new... Okay, spoiler alert is still there. Yes, the Borg have returned as a force to contend with. And apparently the new queen is going to be a resurrection of Picard's mother.
That sounds a bit BS.
Well, so we get a flashback scene of Picard essentially looking back onto an interaction with his mother in his childhood where... is supposed to be him because what's weird in that is the child in it was mentioning, oh, my brother's constantly in the books, which previously it was Picard that was the bookworm, and Renee, his brother, who wasn't, that didn't want to go off and do these things. So was he actually looking back on an interaction between his mother and his brother? Because there was mention of his father always being outside toiling away on the vineyard, your brother always being in school and in the books, which is how Renee, and leading up to and even through Star Trek Generations, that was how Picard was characterized, not Renee. Renee was, oh my god.
Yeah.
So they basically switched the two siblings around.
They are, well, and messing with is already established characterizations of the character in their early life is actually a common thing you do when you're in a different timeline. Look at the Kelvin movies. You have the same named characters. You have some variation to their establishing background, which is fine if you just admit it's a different fucking timeline. I think...
Jared, we can't do that. It's all the same timeline. There's no difference.
In an hour or so, we're not going to be on air, Nikki.
See, that's why we have Star Trek Fleet Command. It's all one. They just screw everything up there.
Yeah, you want to talk about the multiverse of Star Trek. Fleet Command is definitely taking care of that. And you know what? And I will give that game its own little niche where they pulled elements from different timelines to bring everything together. I will give it that and not have a problem with it. Because it's its own thing. They're not trying to play out events as have been established in canon.
Exactly. They may mention said events, but it doesn't pertain to the game.
Yeah. It's just a justification for the new characters and new ships they're bringing in to keep that continual re-spark of interest. So that's where I will give those game creators that. Same thing with Star Trek Online. They picked a point in the Star Trek timeline and then just went with it from there and have, in a sense, made their own alternate timeline for everything that they're doing. So whether it's brought onto screen in movie or TV or series form is really irrelevant. It is what they're doing in Star Trek Online is entirely beta canon with alpha canon references and framework, but the stories they're telling, the arcs that they're doing, are their own thing. And what's nice is, even in there, they acknowledge, yeah, there are different timelines with different things going on. That's why you have a couple, that's actually one of the ways they have it built in. If you start with a character as a TOS era Starfleet crew member, your initial startup and your initial mission pack, it actually goes through temporal events with the sole intention of bringing you up to the 25th century to join all the other players.
Yep.
Which makes sense. And again, they are acknowledging, hey, we're this timeline. This is what we're going down. We're not changing everything just because the alpha canon material that's being put on screen says otherwise. Hell, alpha canon is actually starting to pull from STO a bit, which, hey, maybe you shouldn't have ignored it and avoided it for as long as you have. You might have had better luck with the fan base and still been able to grow the fan base.
Here's one well-endowed lady. I'd like to get my hands on her ample nacelles, if you'll pardon the engineering parlance.
That is one thing with the Kelvin timeline. The ships being that physically larger like that actually makes more sense than a lot of the dimensions we have of the Prime Universe vessels.
Oh yeah.
So good on that and getting a little more realism into it. But, I will say, again, I'm trying to be as positive with season 2 as I can be, because I want good Star Trek to be produced. I want good stories to be told. I want the franchise to be successful and be as good or better than it ever was. But with what they have offered to so far, it makes it difficult to really think that that's even possible. So I will give myself a bit of delusion on that it is still currently possible. So
The potential is there for it. It's just I want. Oh, what's the show? Oh yeah, X-Files. Mulder's poster in the background. I want to believe.
Yep.
yeah.
That sums up the latest bouts of Trek.
Hmm.
I'm still trying to push my way through season 3 of Discovery.
Yeah.
It's hard.
A while ago, I posted on Twitter in response to, I think it was the STD Sucks account, that emotionally I'm spent with the franchise. Like, I can acknowledge there are good parts of it, but I wasn't going out of my way to watch this episode. Gail watched it, mentioned that it was better than expected, to give it a chance. It's like, you know what? We'll do that. I will give it a chance. So, why? I will bite the bullet. I acknowledge that season 1 was torturous. I am prepared for season 2 to be as torturous, and what do you know? We're getting a season-long time travel arc that, we have to go back to 2024 to fix one thing that happened in LA. Now, granted, I will concede that the most likely reason why they're doing this as the story is because it's cheaper to produce. They don't have to build as many time period specific sets for the future setting.
So they're basically starting from scratch.
Going
back to the beginning of the alternate timeline.
Kinda. They're trying to prevent the alternate timeline that they wake up in. No, Davros. I know what arduous is. I've been assigned to arduous sea duty. No. Watching Picard season 1, that wasn't arduous. That was torturous.
It's a violation of the Geneva Conventions.
Arduous would have been arguably better by comparison.
Oh, yes, arduous is objectively better than torturous, because torturous has a harmful effect to it, not just difficulty. There was actual psychological harm done from that series simply because of how drastically and how abruptly and how horribly they handled so many things in that season. And now here we are almost 2 years later in their timeline, and everything's hunky-dory. Kinda. Rafi's back in Starfleet and is now a full commander. Rios is back in Starfleet and he's a captain of the Stargazer of all ships. And hey, you remember the whole murderous scientist Jurati? Oh yeah, she wasn't actually charged and sent to jail based off of a mental health technicality.
An alien mind control mental health technicality.
And now she's what, like a civilian scientist for the Stargazer, or
Oh.
just a passenger?
Well, she was just a
Oh.
passenger on that. She was civilian scientist that was at the request of Starfleet for mission specific roles as needed, which that one okay. Explain this one to me. Her specialty is artificial intelligence.
No.
They send her on a mission for a spatial anomaly.
That doesn't work.
Jared, you're trying too much to make sense of Star Trek.
You know,
Well, at least they had some fun with her near the beginning, where she was trying to wave off the advances of that Deltan.
which if that Deltan hadn't taken the vow of celibacy, no chance in hell.
Yeah.
From what they have established as the Deltans and their libido and their effectiveness, so to say, yeah, there was no way in hell.
And she was also, what, half drunk, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was halfway in the bag. Yeah.
But that was one thing to see. It was nice that brought back something from the motion picture. You didn't hear much about the Deltans again.
So Jared, I went back and listened to the end. Yes, it is 2024.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's got to be the ancestor of Soong that we get in Star Trek Enterprise.
So does that mean 2 years from now we'll see Picard somewhere?
I am not going to say the comment that came to mind.
Well, that all depends. Are we being tyrannically run by Commissar Putin at that point?
Well, see, that's here. Okay. I am looking forward to the next episode or two just to know what the fuck they think is possibly going to happen in the next 2 years. Because that is, when you look at Star Trek and you look at their view from where they are back towards our current time frame, you get a really interesting glimpse of what the writers and showrunners project as what's possibly to happen that would eventually cause humanity to reach the point that we are seeing in the Star Trek franchise at that time. And that's going to be interesting.
Let's go back just a little bit.
This is home.
Yeah, look at the polar shield around.
You like the skies
planet
here?
there.
Q.
Just boop. We will mute that for right now and don't.
Are you guys actually getting the sound through?
Yeah, we got the set.
Through Discord, but we don't want to have it going.
Oh,
through,
yeah. No,
YouTube.
I'm so used to routing everything through my mixer that I forget that Discord has.
Discord
Audio.
does audio on its own.
Yeah, I'll solve that problem too, just to make sure. Sorry about that.
And
I'm trying to get to the particular statue.
so that was a Cardassian one.
A Cardassian skull, if I'm not mistaken. Is that
No.
Picard?
No, that's Soong.
That's soon.
Yes, it is. Oh, so something happened in 2024.
And that oddly Adam Soong.
I wonder if he kicked off the event of the genetic. What it was? They called
Well,
it
the
eugenics wars.
eugenics wars early.
Well, no, that's just it. They took place in the 1990s. This
90s.
is 2024.
True.
Yeah, so the 90s were the original eugenic wars that gave us Khan.
Although, as
But
Cal
that-
said in the chat, or in the Quarks Bar chat, could it be the Terran Empire?
Ooh.
In
And
all
that's what it
timelines.
looks like.
the mirrorverse.
That's what
Yeah.
it looks like.
Because if you look at his comm badge, Picard's comm badge when he first got up, it's more sharp pointed than the Delta symbol.
Well, not only that, but all the banners in what should be the Federation are blue instead of red.
Yep.
Or
Sorry, the other way around.
Red,
instead
red
of
and
blue.
black instead of blue. Yeah.
And also, if you backed up, you saw a picture. It looked like the Enterprise in a fierce battle in that oil painting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see, all those banners have a red center stripe.
Wait, didn't they say it was like a totalitarians?
Yeah.
Yes,
State now?
and
Yeah.
that would be the Empire in the Mirrorverse, if I'm not mistaken.
Right there. That. And he's fighting the Borg, if you look at it.
Yeah, and that's actually another variant of the Galaxy class from STO that's been modified slightly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then we have 7, who's not a Borg.
Yeah, this is...
Oh, a Cardassian skull there.
Yep.
That's where this is... It'll be interesting to see what slant they go with. It's just... Some of the initial setups and hand-waving are where it's like, really?
Yeah. And the Borg Queen.
The new queen. Yes. Yeah, that is quite pointed.
You know. But she's not. I don't think she's human. I don't think this is a human. Last time, I think most of the Borg Queens were human. This one looked like it's an alien species of some sort, or just a whole redesign.
The redesign is what I think it is.
Yeah.
More implants to.
Yeah, that's well, yeah, because you get the Borg have got to adapt. So you're right. Change what implants are running.
Yeah, that looks heavily modified, regardless of what species.
Well, just remember, legally speaking, 25% different. That
25% different. That's the legal requirement for a different species.
No.
Anything.
The more backstory is the reason why Star Trek Discovery was so visually different was because it had to be for legal reasons, that things had to be approximately 25% different, and this came from one of the ship designers who worked on Star Trek previously and then worked again on Discovery.
Oh.
Yeah, because in Discovery, you know, they some people broke it down. You saw the Ferengi, an updated version of what a Cardassian looks like.
That was a watered down Cardassian. But
No, not the president. There's a later shot where there's a full-blooded Cardassian.
Oh, well, and you got differences with the Andorians. You got differences.
Tellarite.
The Tellarites. You got differences with the Klingons. Literally everything that had a visual aesthetic to it already established was changed by, on average, 25%.
Yep.
So when a lot of the supporters of the show want to get butthurt that was a bullshit thing, no. Objectively look at it. And some people want to put it as, well, it's new times. Well, it's new technology. Yeah, they had a lot of this technology back when Deep Space Nine went back and did the episode Trials and Tribulations.
Ah, yes.
And yet they stuck with the aesthetic. Granted, it's because they were doing a Forrest Gump and putting themselves into classic Trek material, but you know what? When you're trying to establish that where you are in a timeline of a series directly follows from a previous iteration, that's how you do it.
Mm-hmm. As Dax said, yes, back in those days, the women wore less.
Which is a sign of the times for when the show was produced.
Yep.
And that's where another thing, people comparing the overly critical view of Discovery, Prodigy, Lower Decks, and Picard as being, oh, well, you're just as upset as the original TOS fans. Here's the difference. The TOS fans had, call it, 4 seasons of material to go off of that had enough inconsistencies because they were still just establishing everything. But then TNG came out, and yeah, it's different. It's not not the original Star Trek, but it's already established it's a significant amount of time later.
Yep.
Then you have this DS9 that's parallel to
TNG.
TNG, so therefore similarities, and you don't expect too many inconsistencies between the two.
And
then
you really
Voyager.
didn't. Then Voyager, and same thing, some overlap, but you expected there with the way those with the way those went, you had the actual fleshing out of a larger landscape for the writers to pull from to tell stories, and yet still had to, okay, this is where we are, this is what's going on over here. You kind of have to work in and still be okay with all of that. And then you had a couple-year break, and then they're like, okay, well, we're going to do Star Trek Enterprise. We're going to go back to the foundation of the Federation. And anytime you go back in time is the challenge. Because you want to keep it fresh and entertaining for a new audience and a younger audience.
But you also need to make sure that you're going off of the previous source material that's already established some level of that lore in that time period. So that way it remains accurate.
Exactly. But you can get around that in a franchise like Star Trek that has already established that parallel timelines are a thing. So if you're not going to honor the original aesthetic, if you're going to change it, just go ahead and admit it's an alternate timeline. That's what was done with the reboot for the JJ verse, for the Kelvin timeline. And guess what? Because of that, a lot of us were a lot more forgiving.
Even when it came to the retcon of Wrath of Khan, Into Darkness.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw the promos where they actually slipped and said Khan in there, I knew exactly what the premise of the movie was, and I still paid my money to go watch it, and I enjoyed it for what it was. But is it what I love about Star Trek? No. But is it different enough and fleshed out enough to be a different storyline? Yeah. Even if it is the same thing.
Yeah, poor Mickey never gets to have a happy ending.
Well, it's because he's secretly related to Sarah Jane, and nobody knew that.
You know what? That makes a lot more sense.
Mickey Smith, Sarah Jane Smith. Come on, Dr. Smith. John Smith. Yeah.
Yeah. The Smith clan is a very big clan.
May as well be considered a nation at this point.
Nation Without Borders.
Yeah.
That is another topic that we're going to get into later.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yes.
Giggity goo.
Tonight is going to be fun, especially later. So, real quick, I'm actually going to be wrapping this up here momentarily because, hey, you know what? The pressure cooker is just about done for dinner. So, going to eat, and then I have to scoot out because I need to take care of myself a bit. And instead of a mid-afternoon appointment, it had to be a mid-evening appointment. So, that will... Yeah, I got an hour before I have to leave for that. But then when I get back, we will be going back live between 8:15 and 8:30 for VTW. Yes. So,
okay.
4 hours or less is when we're going to be...
Shall we play a game?
Oh, there are going to be a lot of things going on. That will probably be towards the end of it, but holy shit, has a lot of things been going on. And I'm not just talking about in the interwebs and that side of things, because oh boy, do I have some thoughts and views and reactions of all of that fuckery too. So, yeah. I expect the VTW to be longer than it has been for the past short while, because there's just that much to address and go over and try to sort through and muddle through. Well,
Do we need to
Quiplash
talk about how people
3?
don't understand? Yeah, I got the pack.
Oh, you got the new update?
Well, I got the 7. I didn't get the 8, and they're coming out with 9 yet. So, or did I get 8? I got whichever pack has 3, but I didn't get the other one.
I wonder if we will have better prompts then. Although some of the prompts that we've gotten the last couple times have been good. You just have to know how to leverage the prompt.
Well, in 3 we can. I think it's 3. It's either 3 or 2. One of these times we'll have to play one where we create our own prompts. And then they get submitted for use in others.
Okay, I think that might have started with 2. So the initial one, yes, I know. Shut the. People don't listen. People really don't fucking listen, and that is going to be a big theme of the show later on because, holy shit, people don't listen or they listen to the wrong voices. And yeah. Word of warning out there. Some of you might get personally offended at some of the things that I have to say. But that just means you need to look in the mirror.
Yay.
So, and no, I don't mean that in an aesthetically upset way. It's just, if what I say about behavior I've noticed rubs you the wrong way or makes you feel personally attacked, take that as a chance to evaluate what you've been doing and why you've been doing what you have been. Because I have one of many people, and we are getting sick of the shit. So that bullshit will be part of the discussion later. On top of, well, my prediction for the origination of World War III looks to be slightly off. Only by about a quarter distance of the globe, but yeah, I hate being right sometimes.
You could still be right if you peg Taiwan. There's still time.
Yes, but when you really look back at things, what was the real first shot that would have kicked it all off? And it wouldn't have been Taiwan. Now, if things get settled there, and things die off, and then hostilities start around there, then I would be completely correct, which I don't want to be. I do not want to be right about that shit. But, again, we will talk about that later. I'm gonna go stuff my face with something juicy and tasty, and you can take that comment however you wish. I will let you know about it later. And we will see you all soon.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.